we talk about connection, when we talk about understanding, and the idea that organizations are made up of people, and it doesn't matter what the organization does, it begins and ends with people, that you were able to meet him on his terms, as opposed to on your terms or on the terms that you had been taught to use or whatever.
Right.
You know, I think that really sets the difference between a manager and a leader. You know, someone who manages just kind of makes sure the machine works. A leader actually has vision and strategy, which means being able to connect in that way.
Absolutely. And when I think back to that time in my career, I think that's really at least a period of time where that shift from manager to leader really started to happen. And continued to serve me throughout my career, because I would then go on to work with, a few fast-growing tech companies, working predominantly with engineers and developers. And so it was really helpful, not to overgeneralize, but they're not necessarily, in my experience, typically the over-feeling, people-centric, motivated group. And so my approach of how are you feeling? And our team doesn't feel like they're being supported by us wouldn't have worked with that. And had I not learned how to identify what motivates people, I think I would have really struggled in being effective leaders and an effective leader in that environment as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So out of curiosity, what happened after you were able to figure out how you needed to approach him?
Well, I mean, to your point, I think that connection really started to build. And what he saw was an attempt from me to really recognize his individual needs, and felt really seen, really heard, really supported. And I think, truthfully, my approach of pushing results created some unnecessary friction, because it almost felt like I was stating the obvious. We know we need to perform, but there's something that isn't working, that wasn't being addressed. We have ended up being such great friends. In fact, I was just speaking to him last week, and this example was probably 12 or so years ago. And I have brought him into other organizations that I've worked with on my team as well, because we have that mutual understanding of how we communicate, how we can get the best from working with each other. And we've gone on to be really great friends.
So the empathy ended up working in both directions.
Big time. And, I think that's really important, because it would have been really easy for him. And we hear this all the time. People don't quit jobs, they quit bosses.
Yep.
It would have been very easy for him to say, you know what, you just don't get it. Like, there's a misalignment of values or communication styles. And he, as much as I, stuck it out to understand what motivates him, he put an equal, if not greater amount of work in understanding where I was coming from, my communication style. And then what I think became incredibly helpful was an open door feedback system, where it's like, now that we know that we have different styles, it became less intimidating to say, I see what you're trying to do here. It's not effective with me. Without that triggering any kind of defensiveness, we could very openly say, super appreciate what you're trying to do. What would help me in this situation is XYZ. And then having the ability to, and comfort in having that dialogue consistently.
Yes. And I love to hear that, because it just shows that once that street is open both ways, just how much can come out of it. I mean, all of a sudden, all the other emotional intelligence skills can come along. Communication, motivation, self-motivation, all of it. It just all goes together. But it starts with that ability to understand and connect, one way or the other.